Welcome to the Idiot's Guide. I'm Mackie Hall, and today we're going to be talking about neon. Recently, we did a piece on doubling up to convert type to neon, and I thought this go around we'd take it one step further. After looking at magazines, brochures, and some logo types, I realized that there was a need to duplicate that same effect. With that in mind, I thought it would be a great idea to teach not just neon type, but any sort of stylized type with an eye towards repeating it. All right, so check out what we're going to be doing today. Think of it as a logo type for that game or platform that you and your crew have been looking at developing. I've already talked too much, so let's get started. I want to remind you that we're using the Essentials layout. To change to Essentials, go to the top right of your screen and select Essentials. Note that we are also using Smart Guides. To enable Smart Guides, select View and select Smart Guides. Also note that we will be using the bottom of the page to include tips and tricks and key command recommendations. First step, let's create a new document. Let's set our new document to have a width of 1,000 points, height of 1,000 points, one artboard, and with the RGB color model. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create a black background. We do this by selecting our rectangle tool, dragging from the top left corner of our page all the way to the bottom right. Next thing we're going to do is we'll select a black fill and a transparent stroke. Next thing we'll do is we'll select Object, Lock Selection. This gives us a background that cannot be changed. All right, first thing we'll do is we'll select our type, click anywhere on our page, and we'll select a white stroke and a transparent fill. Next, we will write Deep 6. Once done with that, we'll select all of our type. Change our type size to 250. Center our type. And then change our character to Thetis Condensed. If you don't have Thetis, it's available for free download at pixelsurplus.com. Once we're done with that, we'll grab our selection tool and center align it horizontally and vertically. All right, let's get to work. Note that on the right side of the page, we have the Appearance tab. If you do not have that open or visible, all you need to do is select Window, Appearance, or Shift F6. With our type selected, we are going to add a stroke by going to the bottom left of our window and clicking Add New Stroke. Once there, we'll click on our stroke and select White. We will then increase our stroke thickness to 4 points. Next thing we'll do is we'll add another stroke directly beneath our initial stroke. We'll do the same thing. Select Add New Stroke from the bottom left of our Appearance window. Note that when we create a new stroke, it carries forward the properties of the previous stroke. This time, however, we're going to change the color of our stroke. The way we do that is we're going to select our new stroke, then we're going to hold our Shift key and select our stroke color. This method gives us the ability to select a custom color. Here we're going to change the color to a bright green. You can either select it from the palette or enter the color which I've selected, which is 49C 900. If you hide your top stroke, you can see it clearly. Once that's done, we'll select our stroke once again, and we will add 4 more strokes directly beneath that. Next thing we're going to do is add a Gaussian blur to each stroke layer. The way we do that is with our topmost green stroke still selected, we'll select the Effects panel, click on that, select Blur, Gaussian Blur. This is where we start the process of doubling up to create neon. The way we do that is we have our top blur radius to be half the thickness of the original stroke. With our original stroke being 4 points, we're going to change our blur radius to 2 pixels. We'll add the effect and double up for all 4 of the strokes beneath that. Once we're done with that, let's make our topmost stroke visible again. And let's change the opacity to 75%. Once done with that, we're going to add a 2-point green stroke above our initial white stroke. Note that I'm changing the opacity back to 100. I'll select it again, hold my Shift key, and enter the green color code again, 49C900. All right, we're close to completing our neon effect. The next thing we want to do is add a fill to our type. We do that by going to the bottom left corner of our appearance window, selecting that, and we're going to add a dark green color. Hold your Shift key, select, then either select a dark green or enter mine, which is 072A00. Note that our fill is too big to fit inside the strokes. We change that by selecting Effects with our fill still selected. We'll select Path, Offset Path, and then we'll change our offset to -5. Select OK. Next thing I want to do is add some of the neon effect in front of our fill. I'm going to do this by dragging my fill down beneath my first 2 strokes. One thing worth noting is that we've never outlined our type. That's a huge advantage because if we select our character window, we can manipulate our type's tracking, kerning, and type size. With that in mind, let's select our tracking and change the tracking to -80. There we go. Since we never outlined our type, we can also change what our type says. In this case, I'm going to select our type tool. Let's select the 6 and change 6 to run. I'll grab my selection tool, click off of our piece, and note that the type still works. A huge advantage of using the appearance window is that because everything's nested, all the elements maintain the same properties. So if you're building a brochure or art for a website, you can duplicate your type or edit your type as well. Let's change run back to 6, and then let's add a subhead. Note that in order to add a subhead, all we need to do is we can copy and paste our type directly in front and then arrow that directly beneath our piece. Once we've done that, let's change our tracking to 0 and change our subhead type to War Awaits. We do this by grabbing our type tool, selecting all of our secondary text, and writing away. We'll deselect our type, and we've got a couple of options to scale it down. Some are good, some are not. One way to do it is to select our type tool, selecting all of our type, and then changing our type size down to 100. If we deselect, I'll show you some drawbacks. Note that the neon effect did not scale with the type. If you'd want to do that, you would need to select your type, select your appearance, and then systematically rescale your element within the appearance panel. Note how time intensive that process was. We can also do it a different way. With that in mind, I'm going to undo all the changes I just made. Another way you can do it is you can select your type using the selection tool, and you can scale it by double-clicking on your scale tool. Here you can scale it down to size, and all of the appearance effects will scale as long as you have scale corners and scale strokes and effects selected on your options. In this case, let's change our type scale to 40%. There you go. Last couple things. Let's arrow our subhead type directly beneath our headline. We'll select both elements, group them together. Let's center the pieces horizontally and vertically. We'll deselect our type, and we are done. So that wraps it up. But before we wrap up, I want to encourage you to consider some of the type styles that you might want to create and give it a go. This was Neon. What can your type be? Now that we've covered that, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. Otherwise, throw me a like. As always, I'd really appreciate that. Even more so, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed. I will see you next time.